All right, guys, welcome to the BizBeatdown Podcast with both Patrick Barber and myself, Vincent Penix. Patrick, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm excited for this one.
Awesome. Of course, my camera's cutting out at first thing. Don't worry. I'm gonna get this fixed. Just some small technical difficulties. We're gonna get it fixed here real quick. And today we are very excited. We have a special guest that we've been looking forward to speaking with for quite some time now. He gave us a little bit of his time today, and we're very much appreciative of that. So before I kind of release the name and everything, I'm going to go ahead and give a quick introduction. So here we go. Camera's working again.
You're back.
So, I'm back, and
you're gone again.
Of course.
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I figured the Harry Potter days were over. If you disappeared.
I know.
Once
we tried out something new. Yeah, and it's been working for the past hour completely fine. So it must have been something that kicked it. Don't worry, it'll jump back on. All right, Here we go. So he is the owner and founder of OnlineJobs.ph, which is the largest database in the world for Filipino virtual workers. There are over 2 million profiles and 45,000 Filipino job seekers that join this platform each month. There have been over 300,000 employers that use this service, and he's reached an audience of over 500,000 followers on just LinkedIn alone. And finally, and what's probably most important and most interesting to our guest here is he's helped thousands of entrepreneurs find success by outsourcing to the Philippines, which is what we're really going to be able to dive into today. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce our guest, Jonas. John, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We're excited to have you on, and thank you for taking a couple minutes to speak with us and everything.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So what we want to dive into for those that don't know, just right from the beginning is, why should somebody use online jobs? What did you see as far as the benefit of outsourcing to the Philippines, and how do you feel it's going to really be able to benefit an entrepreneur or even a small or medium-sized business, help grow out their business?
Okay, so those were like three completely separate questions.
I was gonna say,
let me break it into one first.
Baskin Robbins.
What do you want me to answer first?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, first question really should be why OnlineJobs.ph? Why should a business owner use it?
It is the easiest access to talent that you can find anywhere.
Awesome. And why outsource it to the Philippines?
Yeah, so that's the question. So when I started hiring in the Philippines, I had no clue what I was getting into. I had no idea that they were honest and reliable and trustworthy and talented, and I had no idea they spoke American English, that there's no communication problems. Everybody just assumes India is outsourcing and all outsourcing is like India. And I did too. This is 2005 when I hired my first person. It turns out that in the Philippines, they are loyal and they're pleasing and they want to do a good job for you. So like the very first person I ever hired in 2005 still works for me today. When I hired him, he knew nothing. He was terrible. He wasn't terrible. But at the time, there wasn't another option to find good people outside of going to the Philippines or using an agency. And agencies hiring in the Philippines, it's not the same incentive structure as agencies in the US. Typically, if something doesn't work out of the Philippines, it's the employer's fault, not the worker's fault. And so like they just pulled someone off the street and they were just testing me as an employer. And they said, hey, here's your webmaster. Like, this guy doesn't know anything. What? But he still works for me today, and he's amazing today. In fact, he is kind of running OnlineJobs.ph today, which is,
wow.
It's an 8-figure business that he's running. They're not entrepreneurial. They don't want to steal your business. They don't want to steal your clients. They don't want to steal your idea. There's this whole set of cultural things that makes the Philippines different than anywhere else in the world. And it just really, really works well for outsourcing, especially for small businesses, entrepreneurs. Yeah.
No doubt about it. That's incredible, and congrats on the 8-figure business. I didn't realize Online Jobs was that big. That's excellent. Out of curiosity, John, how many VAs do you have currently on staff now today?
I have about 40. I don't know because I'm recruiting and I'm not the only person in our company hiring and
Sure.
whatever. So it's about 40. And I don't have any US people.
Okay,
So
so
everything
everybody's
we do is in the
offshore.
Philippines. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would co-sign everything you said there, as far as my experience working with VAs, specifically in the Philippines, and I agree that their culture, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way. It's a softer culture, to your point, where they really do. It's a little bit people pleasing and want to make sure that you think they're doing a good job, and they really crave that feedback and seem to thrive on it. Not a lot of drama, not a lot of static. There have been other landmines, though, at least in my experience in working with, offshore VAs, specifically in our industry of recruiting. But it's been different. It's been of a kind of a different variety, if you will. Issues really that I've seen and experienced would be, I would say the biggest one is obviously them working multiple jobs, right? We call it double or triple dipping, where they're working for multiple employers. Sometimes there's connection issues with their, internet and this sort of thing. And maybe even occasionally productivity issues. Do you see those issues also in the VAs that you have working for you? And if so, how do you kind of operate proactively and preventively to keep that from happening, or keep an eye out for it, as it starts to happen? And then how do you handle it, if you don't mind?
All right, so let's start with internet and power outages. When I started, this was a really big problem. It's not so much of a problem anymore. The Philippines infrastructure has gotten so good. In fact, a lot of my people they'll have like a wired internet that's at like 400 megabit or 400 megabits per second. Like my internet is gigabit, right? Theirs is 400 megabit. It's like half of mine. And mine is the highest I can get at my house, right? So internet's really good. And then often they have a backup because power outages happen or whatever. So they'll have a wireless backup that they can buy prepaid. So they'll pay like $50 for a certain amount of data. And if their wired internet goes down, they have wireless as a backup. So that's not as much of an issue anymore. Still happens. You just have you just know, right? Okay, if they have an internet outage for hours and hours, okay, that's a problem. If this is consistent, you can take care of it. They can get a backup. No, that's not the case everywhere in the Philippines because there's rural areas that only have one internet, whatever. But for the most part, if this is consistent, there's another issue going on, and that other issue leads to your second question, which is them double or triple dipping. So here's what I typically find. Someone in the Philippines just learned about online work. They go and get a job. They're looking for a full-time job. They don't get a full-time job. They get a part-time job. So once they have a part-time job, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. They're making as much or more than they could have made in an office. And they're not forced to commute, which commute times in the Philippines are absurd.
Yeah.
And so they're like, well, I'm only working 4 hours a day, so I'm going to get another job because I could work 10 hours a day. Well, so someone else hires them for 3 hours, and now they still have more time, right? So here's what I have always recommended, and here's where I see the most success from people. You hire someone, you consider them as staff. This is not a VA. This is not an hourly meh, right? Like it's not a robot. People consider when they start doing this, they're like, oh, it's like something on the other side of the world. Then just fire them and get rid of them, which is the wrong attitude, right? So you're hiring staff. And if you hire staff, well, they can be just as good as your US person or your Canadian person or whatever, right? So in order to have them be just as good, you got to keep them busy. If you hire them full time and only give them 4 hours of work a day, well, then they know after a certain amount of time, I'm only getting 4 hours of work a day. I got a lot of extra time. And with that extra time, I'm going to get extra work because the Philippines is hard. They don't want to be called a third world country. They want to be called an emerging economy.
Yeah. I was going to say.
But, dude, like you're only paying them $500 a month here. for full-time work. And if they're only working part-time, well, and they can double that by getting another full-time job, well, that's pretty compelling.
Do you use anything to kind of track their productivity and that sort of thing? You don't?
I don't. And I don't recommend it, because I know, like, if I'm giving you work to do, I just 4 minutes ago, well, before I got on this podcast, I sent an email to one of my guys and said, hey, your productivity is not where it needs to be. And I know that because I can see it. And look at this work you've done. Like, I gave you responsibility over this, and this sucks. Fix it, right? And I wasn't mean like that, but generally, you give someone work, you know pretty well if they're being productive or not. And if they're not, then say something.
What do you think? What do you think productivity tools like Time Doctor and Hubstaff? What do you think those tools, when you implement those in your organization, what do they? What do you think you're signaling to your team offshore?
That's right. That's exactly right. What do you think you're doing? Right? You're telling them, I'm going to take a screenshot every 10 seconds of what you're doing because I don't trust you.
Boom. Yeah.
And so this is interesting in the Philippines. So we always go into this thinking, how do I track them to make sure they're not dude, you're paying them $4 an hour. Like, if they only work 6 hours instead of 8 hours, who cares? So we go into it thinking, I don't know if I can trust this person. Well, they come into it thinking, I don't know if I can trust this person. But their feeling is stronger than our feeling. And so if you send them signals of, I don't trust you, well, then, like their trust back is not really strong.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing in the Philippines is, until they trust you, they're not likely to do good work, or they're not likely to do great work. They're not likely to be a rock star until they trust you. And so you have to do things to gain their trust. And when you do, then yeah, man, like you have an amazing rock star at $500 a month full time, but until you gain that trust, and if you're sending I don't trust you signals, and you're doing things that are like super crappy as an employer, then they don't trust you, then, well, it's not, I mean, you got to be a good boss, right?
Sure.
These are people. They're not robots.
Totally. Makes sense.
No, it makes sense. And what are some of like the biggest success stories that you've seen people using, I guess we could call them, people within the Philippines? Like what industries, what type of businesses have you seen the most success in?
We see, I don't even have an answer to that. We see people in every single industry every single day.
Okay.
So like we get 20,000 job posts a month. They are across every single industry. I'm just looking at my email right now. In my archived folder. Sure. I like an email that I got an hour ago. I'm just trying to find it because I was just going through my email right before this. Someone saying, oh my gosh, I have 3 people on my team in the Philippines and they're amazing. Yes, I had to go through some headaches before I really nailed this down, but here's a conversation. He sends me a screenshot. Here's a conversation I had with Catherine, or whatever her name is. And here's what she says. He's like, hey, how are you? She says, I'm good. Thanks for asking. He was like, no, I'm actually asking, like, how are you actually doing? How are you, like, your job? How's your life situation? And she says, oh my gosh, my life is amazing. I can't believe what's going on. I can't believe I have this job. In my community, I'm giving 40% of my salary to help kids go to school because kids aren't going to school otherwise.
Wow.
So and I don't know how much he's paying her, but dude, that's a lot of money she's giving to kids to pay for education, right? And then at the end, she just also happens to throw in, and my therapist says that I'll be able to learn to walk again someday thanks to the salary you pay me.
Whoa.
What?
Wow.
So
that's incredible.
I mean, this is, I have no idea what this guy does. His business is called Umbrella something. I don't know. It's like financial services, or I don't know, but
it is a cool aspect. It is a cool aspect of working with offshore folks. I mean, I've spoken about this to other folks, Vince and other folks in the business who also use VAs. You can see it when you bring them on, they start working for you, they start seeing success, and the role that I offer them is a base plus commission. So really their earning potential, even though it is in PHP, Filipino pesos, for them, it's a lot of money. And so it's really awesome to see, especially like on our morning staff meetings, after a month or two of someone being on board, all of a sudden, they've got a new hairstyle, or they went and got braces, or, they're doing things. You can actively see them changing their lifestyle for the better as a result of the hard work that they're putting in for you, which is super, super awesome. I did want to ask you, so in my experience in managing offshore recruiters, really from the Philippines, recruiters and sourcers, one of the main skill gaps that I often find myself having to bridge and having to try to upskill with a lot of the offshore workers that I've employed is their soft skills in client facing situations, and their ability to build rapport and kind of connect and this sort of thing. Do you see that? Have you seen that across the board and in your own business? And beyond that, do you see, have you identified kind of a basket of skills and tasks that you feel are really not suited for, Filipino workers specifically in the US that are, doing offshore type work?
So I don't really have a great answer for this. I mean, I don't have a great answer for like soft skills not working. I wonder if maybe some of that is just the people you hired. And so I would recommend figuring out the DISC profile.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to know that. You've got to know how DISC works.
Yeah, of course. Tony Robbins.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's Tony Robbins.
Yeah, he invented it. He did.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I would just run people through that according to what they're doing. Like a recruiter has to be a social person.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a high I or whatever it is, but so that's one, because I have had quite a few people say to me like, hey, I have people that are dealing with, like, they're account reps and they deal with our customers every single day and they're great at it. So I don't have a great answer for that. So
fair enough. Yeah.
My answer for what are they not good at kind of depends on the personality you hired and what the responsibility you're giving them, because they're also not magical humans.
Yeah. Right.
Often because of the way I talk about this, sometimes people get the feeling that they're going to hire a magic human that can do anything and everything, and they can just do programming and video editing, and they can record a podcast. They can write no, sorry, it's not a magic person, right? But I do find that often in a situation that requires cultural understanding, while they are very, very westernized, they, like, for me, sometimes they struggle to understand the employer perspective, where they are all employees. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not employers. So they struggle to understand that, right? Yeah. So in most businesses, there's a gap of some sort in that understanding of what their role is and what you want them to do. So that's something I struggle with, which that comes then down to, like, sales is kind of hard because they're selling to employers and they are employees. Or sales copywriting is, and now I've hired some really great copywriters out of the Philippines, but that's something that I struggled with for a long time. So I mean, there are struggles, but there's usually a way to overcome it. And I can't tell you any position that I haven't heard from people that they haven't been able to hire that thing,
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely true. And kind of speaking of like the cultural differences and everything too, this could be super helpful for both Patrick and myself, and probably anybody listening. Is like, what advice do you have on managing those people that you hire on your team and making sure like they're continually happy? That might be more specific to, like, the Philippines and the culture there.
Yeah. So number one, you have to treat them well. This is not a hire them and never talk to them again thing and just do your job and don't talk to me, right? That's just not going to work here. Filipinos, they want to get paid well, but they want to be cared for, more importantly. And so their motivation structure is not just financial, which is our easiest way to motivate because their salary structure is so much less than ours, right? So yeah, interacting with them, positive feedback is a big one. asking, like building a relationship with them that, like you care about them knowing that you care about their success. So providing training is a really big deal. And then just recognize there's some things that you need to recognize. Like if you recognize these cultural things, then this will be a lot easier. Filipinos don't want to lose face. They don't want to be embarrassed. So if they get into a situation where they're worried that if they don't trust you and they're worried that you're not going to like their work, they're not going to do a good job, the candidate that they're recruiting for you, you're not going to be happy with. If they don't trust you, then they're likely to shy away and be less productive towards it than they are to be more aggressive. Where like our normal inclination is to be more aggressive towards it. Oh, I'm going to prove myself, right? Theirs is to back off until they trust you that you're not going to get mad at them or make them lose face or fire them, right? So if they disappear, if they ghost you, that is usually because they don't trust you yet and there's a problem. Like there's something that they don't understand. There's something that they're worried about. There's something that's not quite right. And that's usually that'll solve like 90% of the problems. It's just understanding this thing. So you can, when you're not hearing from them, when they're not doing good, when something's not right, you can say, hey, I fear something is going on. Like I've done something wrong, or I'm not giving you instructions. What is there about this that's not right? And if you'll say that to them, number one, you'll gain their trust because they know you care about them. They know you care about their success in their job. Number two, they're more likely to open up to you and communicate with you well. So that's like a really big.
Yeah, they are not confrontational and they don't like drama. A couple, as you were talking there, I was kind of having flashbacks of a couple of different situations. One, when Vince and I both started using VAs around the same time through a third party. I can't even remember the name of them. It doesn't matter. Anyways, and so the people that we got were great, but after about 6 weeks or so, there was something up with what you could just sense, like in their tonality and their energy and, just the overall vibe that I was getting from at least my folks was different. And it finally took one of them to say, I had to ask her, like, Joy, what's going on? Something's weird. And she's like, well, I didn't want to say anything because I don't want to cause a problem, but the company that we were using hasn't paid us in like a week and a half. And like, well, yeah, you should probably mention that to me. That's the only reason I wake up in the morning to do this, right? Is to collect a paycheck to provide for my family. And if that's not happening for you, so like that blew my. That was like kind of like, hey, this is different. There's a wrinkle here, a nuance to this culturally that we got to be kind of eyes wide open on. The other experience that I've had is really kind of dialing in how to hold them accountable and how to get them moving in the right direction and aligned with, processes that are in place to deliver expectations and all of that. And so holding them kind of the tough love and like direct and hard type of accountability style does not resonate with them. I tried that with a couple of them and they crumbled. And it was, I couldn't save them. It was my fault. It was a mistake I made as a leader, but that didn't go well at all. For sure. I'd love to, if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of change gears here, John, because you said something early on about your business being an 8-figure business, which caught my attention immediately because that's on my radar and list of goals that I'm looking to kind of tackle next. I've created multiple 7-figure businesses now, but not an 8-figure business. Do you mind kind of stepping us through from a growth standpoint, specifically on the business development side of your business? How did you break through 8 figures? What was that journey like? What are some kind of key points there that really put gas on that fire and got you to the next level, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for this. Here's my thing. I learned, okay, I'm going to go back and tell a story. The very first person I hired, I wasn't broke, but I was probably making $40,000 a year, running my own business, on making some money online and doing some consulting online, programming. I graduated from college in computer science, right? And so I was trying to start this business online, trying to make stuff work. I'm making a little bit of money, and I just knew I was overworked, and there just was not enough time in the day. And I tried this outsourcing, I tried that outsourcing, I try Upwork, and I try India, and I try all these things, and nothing is clicking. And I finally hire this guy in the Philippines, and full time, I was paying the agency $750 a month. They were paying him $250 a month. I didn't know that difference at the time. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And I taught him how to do one of the things that I was trying to do in my business. I knew how to do it, but I couldn't complete it because I didn't have the time or the mental capacity or the energy or whatever, right? And he started doing this thing for me. And of course, he started doing it and completing it. And it's a marketing task. And all of a sudden, things start growing, right? After a couple of months, I realized I have replaced myself. Like, there's two of me now. He's doing this thing that I used to be doing, and now I'm able to better focus on what I wanted to focus on. So then I did it again. This time I hired a programmer to replace me in my programming. I was like, I don't know if I can hire someone that good. I'm not that good of a programmer, but I don't know if I can hire someone who's good, right? So I hire someone. I don't know if you know SEO at all from the olden days, but this guy's blog, back in blog days, like early blog days, his blog was a page rank 6 on Google, which was like, I didn't have any page rank 6s.
That's
right?
pretty good.
What did you do? Turns out this guy was incredible. I hired him through the agency, and they were paying him $250 a month. I would put this guy up against anybody in the world as a programmer, right? He's that good. And I had just replaced myself again. So you want to know, your question is, walk me through getting to 8 figures. For me, getting to 8 figures was, we do everything. Like all of the marketing things that you hear about or know about or should be doing, yeah, I do all of them. I don't do any of them. I personally don't do any of it. But we do all of it. And so what is the thing? I don't know.
Leverage.
I don't
it
know.
sounds like it's leverage. You've leveraged out on every aspect of your business, which has contributed to your growth, is what I'm hearing you say. Essentially, you've in-housed everything. You're not doing anything, but you have built a team to do all the heavy lifting for you. It's awesome.
Right. Okay. So there's more than that. So for us, I think I had the right thing at the right time, and I got lucky. And frankly, I got lucky. Right? and yeah, I had to execute. Yeah. And I didn't know at the beginning that I was getting lucky. I didn't know that what I had was the right it. I just read this book called The Right It. It's all about having the right product. And if you don't have the right product, then it doesn't really matter how good you are at executing it, because it doesn't matter. And I have that situation right now on something else I've been working on for years and years and years, and it's not working like I want it to, right? Where OnlineJobs.ph, people talk about it. People ask me to get on their podcast and talk about it, and people tell their friends, and they refer, right? And OnlineJobs.ph is the right thing. It's what people want. Yeah. And then I executed on it. And then I do all the marketing things, and I create processes to give to people or have them create processes, and we do them. Whether they're being done as good as they could be, probably not. Doesn't really matter. We just do all of these things, and the more you do, the more they each contribute to each other. And so, yeah, like we're not that good at SEO, but we do a little bit. And we're not that good at social media marketing, but we do some. And we're not that good at content marketing, but we do it. And
actually, that was going to be my next question. Like, what marketing channels did you leverage to grow your company to where it is now?
So the very first thing I did was webinars. I was doing webinars. Well, I was teaching people how to hire people in the Philippines. And I did that before I owned OnlineJobs.ph. Like OnlineJobs.ph was an afterthought. That was, people just wanted to know, why is this working so well for you? What are you doing? So I started talking about it. I started teaching it. And I wasn't even making any money. I was just talking about it, right? I mean, I was making money with them working in my business, doing affiliate marketing. And eventually finding people sucked because using an agency to find someone in the Philippines for you is it sucks.
Yeah, agreed.
And I just thought maybe there's a better way because I wanted to hire someone for myself. And so I went back to the agency and said, hey, I want a programmer. And I built OnlineJobs.ph with that programmer.
Wow, that's awesome.
And yeah.
Very cool.
I can give more, but
I guess it's just, it's the most successful platform of its kind. So yeah, that's what we're asking. Just kind of, other than, do you manage a lot of do you do Facebook ads or any of that type of stuff now, or has it gotten to the point where people just kind of know to go to it?
No, yeah, we do everything.
Okay,
we run Google ads, we run Facebook ads, we run LinkedIn ads.
Cool.
Here's the biggest driver. The biggest driver is content. And since the early days of the internet, people have been saying content is king.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have always created content around it. And so I teach it. I teach how to hire in the Philippines. I teach why. I teach managing. I teach the whole process, right? And I do that because number one, it attracts new people. Number two, I control the conversation for the most part. I drive the market. That's what content creation does. And so just to give an idea of what I do, I have a newsletter that goes out to 150,000 people every day. It goes out 3 times a week, right? And I don't write that newsletter anymore. I started off writing it, but now someone in the Philippines writes it for me, and they write it in my voice, and she writes, today I was, right, for me. So then I take that newsletter and I record it as a podcast. And I don't read it anymore. In the beginning, I started reading it. And then I realized I could get video out of this too. And so I sit in front of a camera and I talk through that, whatever content she came up with, right? And that's all I do. I sit in front of a camera and I record. Right here is exactly what you're looking at, this microphone, whatever. And then I upload it to a Google Drive and someone edits it into a podcast and the same person edits it into a video that goes onto YouTube, and someone else transcribes them and adds subtitles, and someone writes a blog post about it, and someone posts it on my blog and links them all together, and someone schedules the newsletter to go out. And so I do one thing in that process, right? And we create all kinds of content from it. And so I just try and publish, and that's my priority every day is I need to do something today to create content, whether it's creating ads that are going to go on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and whatever, or it's recording my podcast or dealing with the newsletter and just making sure it's right, or it's creating some sort of other informational video. Some sort of content goes out every day.
Awesome. I kind of wanted to switch gears again, just changing lanes if you don't mind, because I know we're up against it, and I want to get this question in. What is your outlook on offshore work, especially within the Philippines? What do you think the near future holds with that? Is there any landmine out there that could potentially send the trajectory of the industry in the wrong way? Just your overall kind of view on all of that and what it means for the future.
Yeah, this is going to be super controversial, but Trump could send it the wrong way. Outside of that, I only see growth, which is, COVID was the best thing ever for us because all of a sudden everybody's working from home and realizes March we saw our first decline in 10 years. March of 2020, we saw our first decline. And April, we saw a slight decline. In May, we saw basically leveling off. And then June and July and August were absolutely insanity. When people realized, we can still work from home.
Yeah, imagine that. With internet, incredible.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
And that means other people can work from home. Let me hire someone, right? And so we saw 25% growth in June. And 20% growth in July, just
Crazy.
Insanity.
Yeah.
And that growth, I mean, 2022, we saw like 10% growth across the year. So that's not that much, right? I mean, it's 10%. 2023, we're going to see a little bit more than that. But across the board, I see outsourcing growing. I see it growing in the Philippines. I see more and more individuals hiring individuals to help them with their jobs. Even like you have a corporate job and you are hiring someone in the Philippines to help you with your corporate job, whether the company's paying for it or not. I see individuals, you have a corporate job, out of your own pocket, you're hiring someone in the Philippines to do half of your work in your corporate job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I see, we like Google and Uber and Canva using OnlineJobs.ph to hire people, right?
Awesome.
Or like realtor, like unbelievable numbers of realtors coming to OnlineJobs.ph to hire VAs or insurance agents or just small businesses or e-commerce or agencies or like across the board. I see more and more diversity of businesses hiring and more diversity of things they're hiring people to do, like freight people hiring. I mean, it's such a like weird thing that I see so often. Freight companies.
I got a follow up for that. And this is a little subjective. I personally subscribe to this, and I would be shocked if you didn't, John. But I think if you were to look at all the different countries abroad that offshore workers and VAs is a thing, I think that it, hands down, at least in my opinion, the Philippines, in terms of if you were to rank the countries that are participating in that, Philippines would definitely be at the tippy top. And I'd be shocked if you disagreed with that. But who would you say is kind of number two in terms of other maybe up and coming hotbeds for, that where there's some similarities to what makes the Philippines work? Maybe a sleeper that nobody's really kind of paying attention to. What are your thoughts around that?
Okay, so once a week, I get someone that says, "Hey, when can I get on the phone with you?" Like never. You can never get on the phone with me. I don't do phone calls, period, ever. Well, I have this really great idea for you. Okay, tell me what it is. Well, at first I want you to sign an NDA. No. Just tell me what your idea is. I've heard it before.
Yeah.
I think you could start OnlineJobs.ph in Mexico. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Well, why? I think it's such a good idea. Yeah, you can go do it. But it's not a good idea because there is no second to the Philippines. Like you got the Philippines and it's not like you got the Philippines and you got like Thailand and Ghana and Mexico. No, you have someone else, right? I don't even know who that is because I have never yet found another culture that is comparable to what you get in the Philippines. Yeah, you can find good people anywhere in the world. I'm not going to say you can only find good people in the Philippines. So that's not correct.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
But your chances of finding someone good in the Philippines is just higher than elsewhere. And this is why you've seen the world's outsourcing go to the Philippines. Or maybe you haven't seen it because you don't pay attention like I do, and you don't really recognize when you get someone in the Philippines helping you because they're so dang westernized.
Yeah.
So I will give you something. In Eastern Europe, they are really good technically.
Yeah.
So you can hire really good programmers, developers, system admin people in Eastern Europe. Yeah. Outside of that, I don't.
One of the ones I hear a lot of.
Something like that, I would own OnlineJobs.mx or something like that. Right.
The one that I hear a lot of these days that gets a lot of buzz is South Africa.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Why?
I think it's honestly, other than them being native English speakers, I don't really know. I don't know. I've never hired anybody from South Africa personally. That's just one I get I hear a lot of buzz about in the interwebs and all of that.
Go for it.
Yeah, I'm good.
We're not saying we're not
I
saying
have
we're doing
something that works for me.
Yeah. You got the right thing with the Philippines, and we were sticking with that. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Cool.
I mean, I don't have any more, Patrick.
I'm good, man. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's been a good talk. I've enjoyed it, John. Thanks for coming on.
John, where can everybody follow you? You want anybody to, I don't know, other than on OnlineJobs.ph, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram? What are your socials?
All right, let me give a couple things now to help people out. So
sure,
we've talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't do social media. My team does social media. So if you want to follow me on social media, that's fine. I don't really care. And if you ask me a question on social media, you'll get me. You'll get me because someone will take a screenshot of it and email it to me, and I will respond to them, and they will respond to you on whatever platform it was. Right?
That's the way to do it.
Despise social media. My best thing and the best thing, if you want to know more, go to johnjonas.com and opt in. Like, get on my newsletter. I mean, like I said, I got like 150,000 people that get my newsletter 3 times a week, and
I'm
gets
one
open.
of them. It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll tag that in the show notes.
Yeah, and we put a lot of work into it, right? I mean, there's a lot of effort that goes into it. Awesome. So then OnlineJobs.ph, obviously, and my first recommendation for anybody listening to this, thinking, oh, I don't know if I can find someone that can do this thing. Head to OnlineJobs.ph and search for it. There's no commitment here. It's free, right? You can post your job for free. You can get applicants for free. The only thing you can't do is you can't communicate with people for free, because then we would never make any money. So you have to pay to communicate with people. Consider it a recruiting fee at OnlineJobs.ph. But the first thing to do is go to OnlineJobs.ph and just search. Like, search for recruiter and see what comes up. See if there are talented people with 10 years of experience in recruiting for U.S. agencies, and see if you could. I guarantee there are.
Yeah, they're out there. I can confirm that. Yeah, they're
right.
Yeah.
So go search it and see. Then the next thing is, if you want, like, so I get a lot of people. I mean, your audience is probably pretty dang experienced in hiring people. I mean, I think that's kind of what they do.
Nature of the beast. Yeah. Absolutely. Right.
So, but if you want more, because it's overseas, because it's whatever it is, I detail the way that I find good people at onevaoa.com, and that's like it's $99 and one time, and it details exactly how I find people in the Philippines and how I do it quickly and effectively, and I find a good person every time. So
awesome. Very cool.
And then from there, the last thing I would say is this is a leap. For most people, hiring someone overseas is a leap. It's you have to take a leap of faith in doing this. And yep, that's right. You have to take a risk. Yeah. And does it work like the 3 of us have said? Well, maybe not. But you don't know until you try, right? And whether you do that through OnlineJobs.ph or through Fiverr or Upwork or whatever, I mean, there's definitely differences if you want to go to Fiverr or Upwork, whatever. But just try it and see if you can make something work for you. Because if you can, it's life-changing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Awesome. John, enjoyed it. Great to meet you. Thanks for joining us on the podcast here. It's been a good talk.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys. This has been fun.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.